Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Bridge by Three. We are welcomed today by special guest, Gurai E, who is a chef and researcher. Welcome,
Yes.
Gurai. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
I'm
Happy to be here.
Kayla.
Kenisha.
And I'm Candice.
Today, we are so excited to talk about bringing things into action, being intentional with our lives, and something that I learned that I wanted to start off with about, through growing up and realizing how people function and why they're functioning the way that they are, and how, as Gen Z, I have to navigate my way through functioning as an adult and bringing things that I've created in my mind and actualizing them. So I think that when we talk about bringing things into action, we have to talk about the mental fortitude that it takes to go through that process of actualization. It takes so much self-work and self-acknowledgement, and I feel like a lot of the pause or hesitation that comes with bringing things into action is, well, how do I do this? And can I even do this? Am I good enough to do this? And I think that first we should start off with, we should not limit ourselves for what we can do. What you're doing is so
Okay.
dope, okay? And like
Thank you.
what everyone can do
I
is
like
just
that.
amazing. You know, it's astounding. You meet people as you're growing older and you're like, wow, you're doing that, you know? And it shows you a different perspective of what is possible in the world. And something that I love about meeting people and hearing their stories is anything is possible. And having that autonomy and having an understanding that you could literally do anything in this life.
Whatever you want, yeah.
And so that also comes with, damn, I could do everything. So what do I do right now? What is the first step? So when it comes to intention versus final product, I wanted to go around and ask everyone, like, when you have an idea, right, of something that you want to do, what do you think is the first thing that you go to in your mind in order to start bringing that idea to life? Because I know when I have a certain idea for something, I've been ideating, I feel like, for all of my life, in my journal, in my mind, you know, creating these visions of things. But it's the steps that I don't really get. And then I know that in order to actualize that, I have to break things down and work step by step. And taking small steps towards a goal, especially a physical goal, or we are talking about physical 3D things that we're bringing into reality. So everything would be physical, and it takes a lot of action, you know? So how would you say that you feel about taking action in your life based off your past experiences and your own self-worth and understanding of yourself?
Should I start? I see y'all. Look at that.
Yeah.
You have a good, like...
I think that's very fitting for me.
Yeah.
I definitely consider myself to be, and I think other people do, like, I'm a go-getter. I push. I'm like, once I have an idea, I'm like, pew, 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 pew. Like, the sparks start flying. The first thing I think about is who can be on my team. That's typically the first...
Team Avatar.
Right?
Really?
That's typically the first thing. The first thing I think about is the resources that I already have, meaning the people. Who has any type of knowledge or anything having to do with whatever my idea is that I can reach out to for support, to build, for information, for whatever, and then I kind of take it from there. Like, I think about my people resources. I use Google. I utilize the hell out of Google everything. Type in the whole sentence if I don't know what I need to look for. Like,
Why
Google,
not?
right? And in order to research and see, like, for example, even just this podcast, right? How did this?
I know,
How
that's
did this
literally- I
podcast
was thinking about that.
begin?
Yes.
It began from a honest, like, disassociation with understanding of what was happening with Gen Z, right? It happened with me recognizing, hey, a lot of these young people are wearing hoodies and it's fucking 90 degrees outside. Like, why is this happening? It started from me not understanding something. Then who did I go to? My daughter. That was the first person. Knocked on, okay, Kayla. I'm always knocking on her room. Kayla, did you notice blah, blah, blah? And then the conversation starts. She's like, yeah, mom, that's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, shit, there's a term, body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Never heard of it in my life, right? And I was just like, wow, there's just this whole world of perceptions, right, that of younger people that I have no clue about and kind of really overlook and just like cast it aside like a get over it type of shit, right? Like when it comes to certain things. And that opened up my eyes to say, all right, I really need to gain an understanding of what the fuck is really going on in their head and their hearts, you know, and their spirits, because we're all here together, right? And then and we're raising you guys. Like we're part of that. So like I personally wanted to bridge the gap and
I love that. I love
between
that.
generations just through communication and understanding. And then what was my next thought? Well, who else could be in the crew? Somebody like-minded. Ding, ding, ding. Called up Kenisha because Kenisha has 2 daughters.
Yes.
As well as I have 2 daughters, and both of our daughters are the same ages. So because we both had Gen Zers,
Right.
and now we learned that we both have alphas.
Right.
Also, we just learned a term for like the 11, 12-year-olds.
Right.
After disease A.
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's the thought process. So,
Let's start over.
right, we
Yeah.
both have Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, right,
Right.
in our home. And I'm like, she would be a great other person, other adult to have with me, you know? We did want her older daughter as well. You can still come on anytime you want. But anyway,
Mela recording.
anyway, like that's
Yeah.
how it began.
Wow.
So typically when I have an idea, I typically think about who can I do this with? What kind of community? And even if they're not necessarily, if it's not a team thing, some things have to be individual, you know, but I still look for the resources in the people I know and build from there. And then I'm typically on it and making sure, did you do this? Did you do that? Then I start to think things through from what they say sometimes, because I'm an educator, right? So sometimes you have to just have the broad idea,
Right.
right? And then you narrow things down from there. Like that's kind of how my brain works naturally. And then I try to just help the others around me to be on the same page and in the same accordance with that type of thinking so things can flow. Because I feel like no matter what type of a learner you are, although there's various ways of learning and taking in information, but still like we can all, if I have a way where I break things down to people, I think that is so basic. That's how I try to communicate, right? And it's not about dumbing or making you feel dumb. No, because I like to receive communication in this way as well for understanding, right? Like I start from the broader picture and then I help to like break things down smaller and smaller and smaller and try to have the person see the vision that I'm seeing along the way.
Yeah.
So that's how I begin the process and then push. And also I just think I'm very goal oriented. So naturally I don't like to be stagnant. Like honestly, just yesterday I was telling Kayla and I told my youngest daughter like
what are you gonna say?
I have another Gemini bestie whose our birthdays are literally a day apart. Excuse me. Hey Toya. And we were
out to you.
talking yesterday, and that's another thing. I have good friends in my circle. Like I have friends. We push each other. We motivate each other. Just through, and it's never competition. It's always us trying to lift one another up,
Love
right?
that.
So she just she was like, you should do your doctor. I thought I was done with school. I'm like tired of school. Oh my God, I got my master's. She was like, you should get your doctorate in like something
cheer
with
you
helping
on. I'll cheer
people.
you
She's
on.
like, you like to help people. Like think
You
about
really
like
do.
social work or like psychology or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
like, you know what? You're right. I have been kind of stagnant lately as far as growth in that way, like the school aspect of growth. But then I'm like, Candice, you do really believe you're a lifelong learner. You do really wholeheartedly believe that. So like, why not do this? Like, why not? And then it can also open up so many more doors and pathways for, the future that I'm like, yep. Sounds about right. That's what I'm going to do, So it's about the community,
Yes.
that you have around you also that helps things push forward.
And may I also say that, like, a lot of times it's really hard to like level up a skill that you have that like you're really good at, because like no one's gonna necessarily prompt you all the time to level up that skill.
Yeah.
Like that, because like they think, oh, you're so good at it already, then, or like the ceiling for it, they can't see it because of wherever there are whatever skills they chose to build and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it really does become a thing that's like mostly like on you to like do. So like
Is that hard for you? Like, what do you feel about like self-motivation?
it's difficult. It's very difficult. But like I'm getting a lot better at it, and like things that have helped me is like meditation. First of all, for like one thing, because I have a lot of thoughts going on at all the time, all the time. But what do you call it? Not becoming your thoughts is like one of the like biggest things, for like better or for worse, because like you could like have like a really good idea and like spend a whole day on it, but then you never really thought about like, do you have the bandwidth to actually like see it through? And now you have like a whole like draft of something, but you wasted a day when you could have been spending it on doing like something else, that kind of stuff. So like that's the for quote unquote better like part of it. But like the like for worse part is more like, you know, like you like have like an imposter syndrome thought or whatever, and you like you don't let that become you, just like let that go or whatever. Or like recognize that as like a what's it called, an indicator that you're like that you're feeling something like more, or like you're feeling like apprehensive about something because like you're experiencing like change for the first time. Like
Exactly. Your
Yeah.
thought, your
That's a good
emotions
one.
Yeah.
are
Get
your
it, Kayla.
teacher.
Get it, Kayla.
Yes, because I want to pinpoint what you talked
Yes.
about with imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
because when you spend your day, sometimes I think about how I can't be a writer who doesn't write.
Yeah.
I can't be an artist who doesn't create. You know, so much of the thoughts and the things that I want to create come with action, but what they also come with is identity.
Yeah.
So when we think about, and we overthink, you know, all of these things, it's like, okay, at a certain point, it's time to start thinking and start figuring things out as we're taking action. And that's the part that gets me, because I have to be in that flow of action and not being in the flow of my thoughts and using my emotions in order to teach me what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right, you know, and how I'm feeling, and accepting those emotions, but also, you know, what's the next step based off of that, because so much of like not becoming your thoughts is understanding that you have the power over your thoughts, and then you choose to decide what thoughts you have, and that those thoughts are aligned with the identity that you want to be and that you are at that point, because you're claiming that identity. And that is a very hard process when you're so used to like reacting with your brain and your emotions to things that are just happening in life, and then realizing that you have that autonomy to make things happen in your life. It's like, that's a lot of power, but we have to take that power back and really like do what you said, meditate. I love me like affirmations, because meditation sometimes like my brain can go everywhere, and I love a direction and to maintain like an energy and call in that energy. So I love what you said about like just, it's about that mental fortitude that I was talking about earlier, building that framework of mind where you can then operate and you can then function. Because the sad part is that, I'm sure you know, you can drown in it. Like, you can
Sure, 100%.
get sunk in it, and so many people are drowning. So many people are not functioning in the way that you would hope that they can function, and know that they can function, because they're so powerful and talented and you know, strong for life, you know, but then you feel unable, and you feel lack, and you feel limited. And because of that feeling and those thoughts that keep swirling, it stops from action. And action is so important, because action is life force energy, you know? Action is creation, and we are here to create. And it is, I just think that this whole topic and that part of it is so important. What do you think, Kenisha?
Well, there's two things that came to mind, or two ends of the spectrum. So first thing is like putting thoughts to action, right? What came to mind for me is like bringing your worth, your values, and your views, right, to the table. Now, granted, like your views, perspectives on things could be different in terms of like how others see it and how they take it from you per se, but bringing that shift and that variable could ultimately make someone see things differently, and then what came to mind, what other thing came to mind is like when you're talking about like the podcast and how this, came to about. And I was like, for me, when it comes to like thoughts to action, is more so like my first thought that comes to mind is like, am I capable? Can I do it?
Wow.
Exactly.
I stopped that long time ago.
That's the limiting.
That is a limiting voice.
Yeah.
That is a limiting voice.
She's not
It's like-
limited. You're just in your
Yeah.
your purest
Yeah.
state.
That's
People think
usually where I start
Yeah.
and then work my way through that. But usually I stay there for a while and like sit with that and like contemplate things like, can I, and this and that and the third, and because I'm like thinking about my first exhibition last summer, and
Yes, yes.
first art exhibition last summer, which I'm like,
You did that, girl. Did that.
I was like, well, yes, I've been under the tutelage of other curators that curated shows and things like that, but I'm like, I personally have not done it myself, so I'm like, how can I do this? How can I call myself or put myself in this particular position and say that I am this? Granted, yes, my background is in art, but I've never like exhibited my pieces. So I'm like, this was all new to me. But I was like, okay, Kenisha, you know your worth, you know your values, you know the educational experiences that you've had. You can do this, but of course, like you said, you will sit there and have the imposter syndrome and like, I've never done this, and all the no's that could come about versus like the yes that could come if you go forth and do it. And what comes from pushing past those things is like that increased confidence in what you can do after, and I'm like, okay, now I've done this. What else can I do? But it took a while to get there.
Yeah.
And in getting there, the steps that you have to take. But of course, it's like not giving up, right? Like being tenacious and being, persistent and going after things and not letting your hindrances or your downfalls and what you think you're incapable of doing block you from those things, so.
I think a big important thing also is to understand and look at the people who are doing it, right? Whatever the it is that you feel like you should be doing.
Yeah.
Who are they? Where did they come from? What
Right.
do they bleed like you? Do they, did they are they
I know,
human?
easier
Did they
said than
grow?
done, right?
Were they kids? Were they raised?
Yeah.
Just like you, right?
Yeah.
Did they go to school? Did they?
Right.
Oh, okay. So what type of superhuman power do they have that you
Right.
don't? Oh, wait, they don't have a superhuman power.
I disagree
Therefore,
with that.
huh?
I think we all have superpowers. but-
Well, I do agree.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, but
Tapping into that, yeah.
if that is exactly, even
Yeah.
if that's the case, tap into yours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so what I'm trying to say is there's nothing about the people who are doing it that is so significantly different from you. Like, but we tend to make dumb ourselves down or put ourselves in this bracket of, like you said, like, am I capable? And it's like, once I seen that we got a president who's a C student and, certain things you look at in life and people and you really break it down. Or for example, when it came to like writing the book, the children's book, right? It was me being an educator in my class, my 2-year-old classroom one day. Came up with, I'm a person that when I joke sometimes I'll randomly make up rhymes, right? And I was doing that one day in the class with my co-teacher, hey Carrie. And when I did, I ended up saying something like the title of it, basically, like in a playing manner. And then I remember reading these simple books that have like children's books, famous ones, 3 words on a page, literally. Da da da. Turn. And it's like, wow, this barely has anything in it. It's so popular. This is a classic.
Yeah.
I could write a freaking children's book with
Right.
meaning and with whatever. Like, why can't I do that? Oh, wait, I can.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is, but then it goes into, okay, what does it take to get from thought to production, right? And all that takes is research.
That's literally that's what I was gonna say.
All
like,
that
use that as
takes
case study.
is research. Google, that's literally all it takes. And it's like if you, for whatever reason, keep yourself stuck at just the thought and never put, what I like to do, actually, I get a notebook. Like I wouldn't do the phone. I'm very, like, I like to be hands-on and physical with it, right? So, like, I have a notebook for every different idea or, like, project that I'm working on. I have a notebook for this. I have a notebook for the books. I have a notebook for the cleaning business. I have a notebook for like various different things, just so that all those thoughts can be organized in that type of way, right? And then I can look back and I can see, oh, this is what I had this thought. Let me pick up on that, right? And now I can do more research on that. So like I don't remain stagnant. I can always pick up where I left off and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
And then in addition, set goals. Hey, all right, I know this needs to be done. I want to put this in my calendar and do it by this date. Now you're making it real. Now you're setting expectation for yourself because nobody's going to do it for you, right? So this is how you get things to go. I get things to go into action.
And also, like, your values and your identity push you to that action. Like, you knowing that you're a lifelong learner pushes you to then take that action of getting your doctorate. It's all about what we know that we care about and putting that as a priority above our own thoughts and above our own limits. So I wanted to go back earlier about what you said about community.
Yes.
Because then when we understand our identity, our values, we have these people in our lives that share our values, then it's about how can we all big ourselves up? Like, how can we all level up? And something, when you talk about case studies, I always think back to the Black Panthers and, like, my time in school and learning about grassroots organizations. And I love community organizing, so I just look at a lot of the things that have worked in community to change things, to change legislation, to, like, actually make change and difference. And all of that has come from people coming together and setting a goals, like looking at a campaign structure. It's so much of what a personal goal search would look like or planning out would look like, and it's just in the community aspect. So I know that Gen Z, because of the world that we live in, we're so focused on making this world better for us and for our future and for Gen Alpha. And when it comes to that, we have to understand that we need to be in community. And I think that Gen Alpha, I'm always saying this, like, I'm seeing so much community in Gen Alpha, whereas in Gen Z, you know, after, like, COVID, like, I'm seeing a stark difference in the pendulum swing. I don't know if you've noticed that. Yeah. It's interesting. But, that makes me happy because, like, I love that the pendulum swung so quick and that we together can really start making differences and looking towards the past to understand how we can make our futures different. So when it comes to, like, things like, I know we were talking about earlier, like food and waste and all of the, like, my thing is waste management because we have created and we already know what global warming is at right now, but we have created so much waste that there's so much rhetoric around Shein and, like, all of the fast fashion happening and, de-influencing. I know I spoke about that before on this podcast and people are talking about it online, which I also love, like the social media communities that can be built, but they're also very pigeonholed. I think that's the word for it. Like if you don't know. Huh?
Echo chambers.
Yeah, like if you're not in it, you don't really see it. So, how do you guys feel about, like, community and what's the future look like and how we can just make that stronger?
I can start with that
Go
one
ahead, take it.
That also connects to a slight tangent that I had because, like, Google was mentioned like twice already and stuff like that as like a resource, but like also the, like, internet that, like, the general public is allowed to see and stuff like that is, like, it gives you, like, a perceived amount of, like, omnipotence and stuff like that, where, like, you can get all the information you need. But it's, like, it is just all the information you're allowed to see, but it's still more than your brain can carry itself. So it's like an external hard drive of information that you can pull from and stuff like that, which is still useful for goal setting and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But, like, in terms of, like, community building is where it starts to become a little, like, things like what these, like, echo chambers are, like, mostly, like, based on I feel like the value of, like, all that kind of stuff is, like, in how the echo chambers interact with each other, and then, like, realizing that there's a lot of money in, like, that interaction being, like, friction instead of, like,
yes, in, like, conflict. You're so right.
So, like, you could have the truth in one bubble over here and a lie in one bubble over here. The purpose is to like make sure those things, like, rub together and make money. Kind of thing, and, like drama. It's like it doesn't even matter if you know the truth. Like, at this point, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like the like that aspect of it is a little difficult when it comes to like building community because we want to like take these kind of things off the internet. You very rarely see the same level of like vitriol and stuff in public. It's only when like the online people were told to gather in a certain space and they have enough numbers that they feel safe. And then even when they do that, they're like picking on one person at a time that just didn't get the memo, didn't know what was going on, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just Friday. They was walking down the street and like, what do you mean it's a Zionist rally going on? like down the street. Like,
Right.
like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what you call it? So that kind of stuff is like it's just difficult to build community when like the main community that we need right now is like something that's
tangible.
I just more inclusive, I guess. Like we need to be able to like have like all of our thoughts out.
Less hate, yes.
Like
Share
it doesn't even have to be like
opinions. Get back
the
to cancel
emotions.
culture.
I was about to say, are we saying like lack of no cancel culture? Like
Yeah.
back to
Where just like say what you
Being
want and then like we
and
can
give
figure
people grace.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Because
Yeah.
we can all have an opinion
Right.
and still respect each other.
Yeah.
Like I was having a conversation earlier today about like how like a lot of like my friends just don't care about like how information is packaged. They just want the information. And like somebody could be saying something like super like quote unquote rude to them or whatever, but like you don't know what day that person had, you don't know what blah blah blah.
For sure.
But if like the angle of what they're saying is take your hand off of that stove,
Right.
they were caring about you and they were trying to say something and blah blah, blah. It just didn't hit your ear right. I was gonna blah blah and that kind of stuff, you know. So it's like and understand like the world we live in is so crazy right now that like you can walk out the house in any stage. Blah, blah, blah. But like if you are privileged enough to receive information from somebody in a non-violent way, then it's like, you know, then it's like, yeah.
And there's a sensitivity that I understood from what you said, where I learned that from a young age, like to not take in the package that a message comes in. And I feel like you saying that just made me have a aha moment. Like it's so freeing. I think that's why I enjoy Sex in the City so much, because it reminds me of a time where people like sitting at a table.
Well, I used to, yeah. But,
It's just girlfriends
I
sitting
love
at a
it.
table and sharing their
Okay.
opinions. and
I
that's
know,
completely
yes.
different.
Between
Like,
that and girlfriends, yeah.
girlfriends,
My girl shows,
yes.
yes.
Girlfriends is fun.
Okay.
Caucasian version, the black version.
And it's like just sharing your opinions and being able to be completely different and still be in relations and understanding the packages that love comes in and that care comes in. It looks totally different from what you may expect, and that sensitivity can come from what's it called, being shielded, or that ankle chamber that we were talking about. So there's a lot of wisdom from that. It's so interesting.
Well, you touch upon waste, you know, and of course, when I hear that, I'm thinking about compost, because I've been composting, for like 3 years now. Like, I cannot go back. It might sound weird, but like when I, which was like eons ago, when they mentioned bringing like recycling, I got so excited.
She said I got excited.
I was like, yay! Because I always felt like we're wasteful. You know, it's like, I feel like there's something else can be done with the garbage. I don't know. That was just like how my mind worked. So I'm like, when they said, okay, now they're enforcing recycle, I was like, finally something is being done with all this garbage piled into each other and just throwing it in one bag. It just didn't make any sense to me. And then when I came across compost, which was like 3 years ago, I can't say it was something that was broadcast, you know, and come to find out it's like a small unit in the budget, which unfortunately they have cut and they're trying to bring back. And I'm like, composting is beyond, well, yes, one aspect of it is obviously saving the planet and the environment that we live in to preserve it for the future. But also there are people's lives behind that. There are people that are working and out there at the forefront of just like advocating this is what is important for the earth and how we can help and aid in that process. So when I came across a booth that, you know, was like advertising it, or like they were actually there with the bins and all that. And I asked for information because that literally intrigued me. I'm like, okay, this is another level of recycling that I'm excited about, you know, and learning and understanding the benefits of that. I was like, wow, okay, first and foremost, global warming. It's like composting, like first of all, like, what is compost? So you compost in, like, for example, your eggshells, your banana peels, your potatoes, no meats, no cheese, anything that has like milk or anything of that nature. You don't want to put it in a compost bin. That's that's garbage, unfortunately. But yes, so now, for example, eggshells, if you grind it up, that could become fertilizer for your plants.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And for example, after all that has been broken down, it becomes soil.
Yeah.
And now you can like replant something with that, put it back into the earth, right?
It changed your relationship with earthworms too. Like when like you get to like put earthworms in like compost and let them like turn it into like the soil.
They have a job on their
Yeah.
own, which is like amazing. And I came to learn that as well. I was like, oh wow, the earthworm. Obviously, I mean, we know everything on Earth serves a purpose. You know, but something we don't know what the purpose of that particular thing is, why it was put here. And when you learn it, you're like, okay, I see why they're here. You know, but in terms of like waste, is like just learning how you. Even if it's one individual, because I'm like, granted, my little bag of compost, is this making a significant difference on the earth? But I'm like, you know what? The fact that I feel like doing something is benefiting some format, even if it's small or big, I was like, I have to do it, you know? And I'm like, I would travel, which is like weird. I'm going to put myself out there, like, because the fact that they cut the stations that they used to have the drop-offs of the compost, I would travel to another borough and drop it off, because in certain boroughs they have like the bins, and there's an app that you can put it in, and then some boroughs don't, because I think everything is money, right? And the boroughs that have it is like the more opulent areas versus like the poorer areas that don't have the bins that you can put the compost in. I'm like, why? And then when you think about the bins that they have, why are there so little bins? When you look up of these like high buildings with like multiple people that live in them, it should be multiple bins to collect all these composts. But they're like, not everyone is gonna be in tune with it, or they're like, oh, what's the difference? What's the big deal? It's not that important.
Exactly.
But I'm like, gas, you know, it's like all this stuff, like by doing this, how it can prevent all that going into the air, or like into the, you know, the landfill. So it's really,
It's hard to get people to care.
yeah.
The
And it's-
best way that I
yeah.
found to get people to care about
A four-letter word that's so hard. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And in general.
Yeah,
care.
yeah,
About
Yeah.
whatever, but it's hard to get people
Yeah.
to care
yeah.
about something.
That's so
Like,
true.
Generally, if you make like, because there's an argument to be made for composting that's like even less about like environmental stuff and more about like money. Because,
Of
like,
course,
as you
yeah,
talk,
that's-
like there is a composting trap game. I'm letting you know right now.
Game?
I'm letting you know right now.
Game, you said?
No, like I'm saying, like with that thing where like they started cutting back, what you call it, all those like
Bins?
composting things in like New York and stuff like that.
Oh, the
Like, but people like use fertilizer and stuff like that, like to grow plants that make
And
food
then-
that people eat.
Yeah.
Like,
And it just doesn't
Yeah,
work. For people
like-
that want money. Like it's
Yeah.
the bureaucracy is
like okay, you're not gonna make
crazy.
money off of it anymore, but people need that.
right.
Oh,
Like,
oh,
yeah.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
if we can't
right,
make
but-
money off of
Yeah.
it, just dispense of it.
Yeah.
Forget that
Yes.
it's useful still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And
like-
then you start to think on an individual level, like you said, like, is what I'm doing worth it? Is it doing anything? Is it making a difference? But
right.
it is.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But then
is.
a lot of people will think the opposite way, like the people that litter. Oh my God,
Whew,
grinds my
that,
gears.
that
And
yeah.
you know, those are the
Bothers
people.
my soul.
They just you don't care, right? And then for me, like you go to a place like Canada, and it's like immaculate. Like,
Right, I
there's
heard
no trash
heard
on
that.
the ground. Like
Yeah.
it makes you think about the society and
Standard
what's
of
the
living.
psyche. Like that they are all in this communicative like understanding of what they will not accept and how do they do not want
Right.
their community to be. What is going on over here with us? We just don't give a damn.
We really don't like, and like you can like be like in most places around the world and like see like spots where like the standard of living is like quote unquote lower, where like it's like poorer people and stuff like that, but they
Yeah.
still have better care for their community.
Yes.
Like it's nothing but grass and dust outside,
yes.
and this
And mad
and
love,
it's still
yeah,
like
mad love.
Yeah.
And mad, like, yeah.
like still
Right.
cleaner than like this kind of stuff. You know, and it's like there's like a level of apathy that we've been like trained to like have and stuff like that. And I really feel like in the next couple of years, because of like all these like echo chambers and stuff that we're going through and stuff like that. And this is like a uniquely American issue in the sense of like a lot of a lot of even like more developed countries and stuff have like certain laws in place for like the food that people are allowed to creating
Right.
The
The
freaking
the internet.
FDA,
Yeah.
actually doing their job and caring and
Yeah,
not poisoning us.
and like during like a lot of like information age, like uprising stuff and things like that, like where like a lot of like this information just becomes like widely available to people. Back when, I'm not sure if y'all know what Silk Road is and stuff
No,
like that, or
please.
heard about that.
What's that?
That used to be like a well, I mean, I guess it still exists, but like there's a lot of like dark web, deep web websites that used to exist where you would have like an unrestricted level of like access to the internet, where you'd be able to like sell a whole bunch of things on black markets and all this kind of stuff, blah, 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 and that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like during like all of that information age, where like I feel like America was being used as like data harvesting, and it still is, because like we still
absolutely.
accept cookies and all this kind of stuff. But like a lot of like places
Yeah.
were like what you call it, training their people to be more into like repair of technology, where like those people are growing up to not have this like incessant like need to like stare at screens,
Right.
but they just know how to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they're just gonna be learning from us because we have all this like unrestricted, like we're just data cattle.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're just data cattle.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know, but I don't know, man.
But
We don't know.
Karai,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the fact that you're into food.
Yes.
Like, what can you like tell us, like, as far as like your experience with that?
Got you. My family's been had a food cart on Wall Street for like 14 years. Well, they were like Wall Street, the Parkway, during like Juve and stuff, and what do you call it, on Governor's Island. And then Trinidadian food. Yeah.
Oh, Governor's Island too?
Yeah, we were the first food cart on Governor's Island when it
No
reopened to the public.
way.
Been there recently.
Yeah.
Been there with Warren actually last summer.
Mm.
And
The
I think
art
I know what you're
exhibition,
talking
right?
about, because I think that we did see the West Indian one. Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, but they retired before the pandemic. But the West Indian food cart this is a Jamaican food cart actually on the island still.
Yeah.
But like they know my family and
Nice.
stuff because we used to be like right across
Okay.
from each other and things like that.
Nice.
But like what do you call it? That's how I like got my I wouldn't even call it like a passion for food and like cooking and stuff like that at the time, because I really had to like learn to appreciate it for real. Just because like it becomes like when that's the thing that like is like the breadwinner thing of the family, and like every
So
summer.
was it pushed on you a little bit?
I mean, it's just like
Passing the baton, like it's your turn.
I mean, it wasn't pushed on me in the sense of like what do you call it? Growing up, I just had to like be in the back peeling potatoes and stuff sometimes when like and like just like sous chefing was not a thing I always wanted to do over the summer as a kid. So it's like but I didn't like it like that, but I understood like how to do things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the real like passion started coming in once I like moved out and like started to like take care of myself and realizing that I can take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that.
Me right now.
Yeah.
Peel some damn potatoes.
Yeah.
And actually,
How many things you can make with potatoes? Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then like there was like moments where like I, because of male pride, would not be asking family for help and things like that. And then like I would have like $35, like $45 after I paid up all the stuff for like the month. Yeah, and then like figuring out ways to stretch that for a month, and getting like super creative with food things, getting like deep into like research and all that kind of stuff, and like realizing that I had like all this like prior information to like call on
from.
to like add from, so like YouTube started becoming like an actual like a real resource that I could like mix things with.
YouTube University.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And like what do you call it? Then I guess the next hurdle of it was like the imposter syndrome of like not going through culinary school and stuff like that, and it's like understanding like my life was the culinary school kind of thing.
Right.
That's so true.
And like
Yeah.
a lot of like people say that like the main thing about like being like that humbles you as a chef is like doing like dish pit and stuff like that.
What's
like
that?
starting starting in the kitchen and like washing your dishes.
Okay.
And all that kind of stuff. And like that was one of the main things that was giving me apprehension about calling myself a chef, because I skipped, quote unquote, skipped that part, but I didn't. Dish pit was just every summer for like 14 years.
I put in my dues.
Yeah, like
Actually, more than my dues.
yeah.
So.
So it was like and like that level of like humility and just like understand like where to like your space in someone's kitchen when you're like collaborating, and then like the space that you need to be able to take up when you're operating a kitchen and like have people
for
under you kind of
yourself.
thing. Yeah, and like that was that's like how I started with the food stuff. But like right now I'm really on a kick of like intentional consumption, and like it's like I'm trying to express that through as many ways as possible, and like connecting it through food, like intentional consumption through like all five senses, and like connecting that to like whether it's like aromatherapy events or something like that, or like on like the 17th I'm doing dinner with this company called Mubience that does terrariums, and like their main concept for it is that like staring at something green for like 30 minutes or something natural helps with your mood and stuff like that. So he
I can
like
see
builds
that.
these. Yeah.
I love
I'm
nature.
so interested
Yeah,
in like
like,
neuroscience
terrariums
and
are
things
so
like that.
beautiful. Oh my
So when you
gosh.
say like how these are incorporated into something that an intentional it's the intentionality and understanding ourselves, because understanding neuroscience allowed me to really have a scientific framework for all of the emotional things that didn't make sense. So like when you talk about the senses and how important it is for you to understand your senses and tap into them, and like using that and using our power of consumption, it's like it's just perfect for the individual to have that full holistic moment of understanding and of experiencing and of choosing, because you choose what you want to consume, and in all ways, digitally, food, everything. And you choose what actions you take when it comes to taking care of the earth, and seeing that happen in front of you.
Yeah.
It shows you the perspective of everything has a purpose. Everything has a part, and every person has a part. Like you showing up and doing that, the butterfly effect, like you never know what comes from that, and it's
That's
all a
true.
flow of ideas that has then turned into something real and something whole, and working gears. And I just think that that's what makes life so beautiful. That's
really
why
does.
life is so beautiful. We all have a part in the revolution. We all have a space to take up and to be in, and you practicing that for all of your life is a practice that I wish on to everyone for whatever aspect of life, because it's all the same energy. It shows up in different ways, but the energy of showing up holistically, it looks like that as an individual, and then you build these communities based off of that and have these events, and that's what life is about. That's the revels, that's the enjoyment and the celebratory part of it, because you show up individually whole, and you get to see the world as what you've put in it, and as just this big part of it. I don't know.
And I also want to say that like I feel like what you call it, everyone's been practicing something all their life and stuff like that, whether they are aware of it or something or not, and like becoming aware of that, whether it's like once you become aware of that, if it's like something that is not necessarily a positive emotion, but like understanding like where that comes from, and like gives you a lot of power and understanding, and like that same like, level of autonomy, and like being like, okay, I have been practicing this, but because I'm now aware of the fact that I have been practicing this, I can either figure out the silver lining of it, whether it's like a thing where like somebody's been like too quiet or something or life, and understand like, okay, so I've been able to get this far being quiet because I'm paying attention to what I do say and who said and who is like hearing me and stuff like that. And I've been I've been safe gatekeeping my information, gatekeeping my voice basically. But like understanding like how to build out from that versus like the problem that someone would have if they like overshare too much, and realizing the way that they have to like back that back is like censorship. Like that's two different battles, but they're still like
Balance.
Yeah. And like
I was thinking about how you said you're intentional about like how you're navigating your food, career, and I'm thinking about like the farmers market, because like then you could get like certain spices and food or whatever from these farmers market, which will help them preserve their business, and in turn like give your future customers something just so authentic and just so beautiful. Because I feel like the food that you get from the farmers market, the way they're grown is just different, right? I'm like, you go in the supermarket, the size of the bananas. I'm like, is this the size it should be? And then think about it, like when you ingest it, what is it doing inside based on whatever they injected with or whatever they spray on top of it? It's like, we have to be so conscious of that, you know? And I'm like, so just thinking about that, like who you buy your sources from, you know, or your products from. Could like,
and a lot of that, like figuring that stuff out can be overwhelming. I can feel a sense of, damn, like there's so much to do when it
I know
comes
that
to
feeling.
I'm
handling
feeling
things.
that. I'm feeling
Yeah.
that when it comes to changing my diet, right? And now having to think about how I'm going to eat in the house and how much that's going to cost for me to eat. Fruits are expensive. Vegetables are expensive, right? Like, so how I'm going to eat versus how my other two daughters are going to eat, who I don't expect them to be on a 100% alkaline diet like I'm on, right? So like, or I will be on. Like, what are they going to? I got to have Whole Foods order, you know, groceries come for them on top of whatever I need to be putting into the blender every day. I'm here thinking, all right, I got to do these smoothies and shakes. How many apples do I need per So now I got to start thinking about, first of all, not even the how many. Where should I buy the fruits and vegetables so they won't be either spoiled when I buy them or spoiled in a day, right? And then now also thinking about farmers markets, even has to Google, try to research. I'm about to call you later and honestly and talk about like, do you know, and you know, like where can I shop? You know, have to ask about that in this present time because everywhere's not safe.
No.
Which is crazy. So then I got to think about where is it safe? Where's the food not going to spoil? How much is this stuff going to cost? You know, and then all of that is just, it is a bit stressful. It is. And it's like all for me to try to be healthy?
right.
What?
And that's
Which is
just
a right.
that's the base. Yeah,
Yeah.
like first of all, that's just the first part of the hierarchy of needs. Like
You
all
get
this
on
just
that,
for
like, you
that.
start getting
Yeah.
angry.
Like yeah,
Like, what?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not on an alkaline diet, but I am on a 6-month journey of
You're
eating no
doing it,
meat.
girl. Yes.
This is
yes.
mom too, but to your point, like I was like, okay, you know, the vegetables, the fruits, and figuring out other options for protein supplements. So,
That part, yeah.
but I'm thinking like, can you imagine if we just had the space? And obviously, it takes like, of course, mental preparation to be able to grow these things in our backyard. That we can literally go pick our apples, our avocados, or oranges, or cucumbers, and bring it in and blend it. You know, cilantros, all the herbs that we might
You
need.
can't even do that without permission. On your own property.
Right, I'm looking forward to when the people that need to be protesting for real start to protest for real, because then we can just take Central Park and go whatever we want.
Exactly.
And then-
Right?
Yeah, seriously, right.
Like we've done enough protesting. I'm gonna wait now. Like,
Yeah, I
when y'all
wrote
get
it down
serious,
too.
then okay.
Protesting right now
Like,
is dangerous.
yeah, exactly.
And especially online, it depends. Like, it's so you have to be so smart.
Very
You know,
strategic.
and work under the limits that shouldn't be limits, and take your power back in the way that we were talking about. As you were speaking, I'm thinking of this is paradise. What we're describing, you know, it reminds me of Encanto. I find that movie to be so beautiful.
It
And
is
when we
really
talk about our own superpowers and playing a role individually in a village of people with like, it's just the perfect movie. And I watched it recently, and what you're describing, it's just that it's living. It's like
Right.
that community, right? And we have to for some reason fight for these things. And then we're talking about things like food, you know. Then we talk about
Basic
health
human
and big
Right.
pharma.
Basic, yeah.
Yeah.
But then also there's people that are battling with like mental versions of that, mental action, getting up every morning, taking showers, all of those actions. You know, we all have different thresholds for what seems impossible and what feels impossible in the moment. And like all of that, to start wrapping up and talk about like our closing statements towards different generations, I just want to say like it takes the smallest action that you may find hard or troublesome. I think that, and even talking to people, we have to understand that being in community means sometimes feeling annoyed. And when you talk about like being friends with someone, you don't want to inconvenience them. I feel like it's a big Gen Z thing. You don't want to be a burden, but that's a part of being in relations with someone. And I come to understand how important community is and how I can change my perspective with how I operate within my community. Because as I'm giving and receiving from people, I have to actively take part in that and like actively do things that make me and take actions that make me uncomfortable when it comes to like communicating and then I also have to take actions within myself for me to feel whole and to feel as if I'm functioning, and like making sure and writing down like all you talking about food. I'm like thinking I had written down like I have to be an adult and buy groceries. I wrote that in my notes.
I can't.
I was like trying to change my perspective, trying to get myself to understand that
As
I
your
need
mom,
to buy
I love
groceries.
that, but
Yeah.
That like I need to, like things are changing.
Yeah.
And making myself realize things that need to change and like not being afraid of it, being excited and understanding that maybe if I have to drive an hour, I don't drive, but like using your example, then I'll drive that hour and I'll listen to music on the way and it'll be fun,
Totally,
like
totally.
making things a good time, making things celebratory because it's for you and it's
Right.
for your community.
right, because if
sure.
you choose to look at it like a hassle, it's gonna feel like that every
100%.
single time. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
about your perspective.
But it's about action. Whatever way you get towards taking the action, you need to take the action. Because the thoughts alone are not enough. And that's my message to Gen Z, to all the overthinkers, to people pleasers, to take action. In the smallest of actions. I've made so many
true.
changes in my life this far. And honestly, like I'm excited for the changes that I make in the future because the person that I am now has come from a person that's less than happy, less than functioning. So when I'm at peak level, I don't know what I can do,
Like, I'm off here depressed. Like, imagine if I'm not depressed. Like, like, also,
Exactly.
I am not depressed right now. But
Good.
Neither am I.
Good,
yeah,
good,
just-
good.
just-
Yes,
yeah,
it's a
sure.
beautiful day.
yeah,
It's a beautiful
great
day.
Yeah. But also, something that I would say while we're on the topic of
takeaway.
food and stuff,
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
takeaway of everything?
takeaways, something to, I guess, like help like bridge the gap and stuff like that. It would be like the privilege that we have like growing up with the internet, with all its flaws and stuff like that, give us the ability to like reflect in ways that we couldn't before. Like when we're talking about like the understand like not your thoughts and stuff like that. A lot of people before the internet and stuff like that didn't even realize that like the main person that they had in their head telling them stuff wasn't them. It was like a voice that they heard like super early on or something like that. That kind of stuff. And like now that's a commonplace thing because it was trending like 3 months ago and like everyone like was like in that echo chamber was aware of it. And then because like those echo chambers also like the people who are there, they aren't like trapped in that. In real life, they actually interact with other people
Right.
and stuff like that. And, like it just like proliferated slowly and stuff like that to the point that, like most people understand at some form of base level that you're not your thoughts or whatever, or at least like most people get to an age and they stop and they realize like, wait a second, that's not me. That's actually like my second grade teacher. That blah, or like or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like
That planted some kind of seed in
Right.
your head.
Yes. Yes.
and like that thing and like understanding the privilege that we have, but also understanding that like that information and those skills that we have as the people who like grew up with like backyards and the internet before like everyone was just like grown up with just only the iPad and stuff like that, or
Right.
and that information needs to be shared and like passed down, and like we also need to change the way that it was even given to us in a way that's like and like not shirking from that responsibility because like if we don't, we're gonna let the old heads like not you're not old but like you know
It's all good. It's all
like,
Boomers.
like the one that like thought they were sending me a
I'm a
DM, but it's
Zennial,
actually a post on my
okay?
wall.
I'm a
Like we're gonna let them tell me what to do. Like it's like nah. We have a responsibility to like to make sure that like the internet is a safer space as well, but also like the subtle things like how like all these like kids are growing up with like iPads that like despite like the information that it's given them, what I feel like the main thing that it's teaching them is that like you can get whatever you want through nonverbal like cues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
especially at a level of want where like the iPad or like the screen has so much information of like you want something, you get it. 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 And then like in life, you want something, you get it sometimes.
I'm experiencing that issue with my Gen Alpha, but that's a whole nother episode.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Seriously.
Yes, you are
yeah.
absolutely correct,
Right.
Garai. Yes.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they like to point. It's very rude.
They like to point. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, hit up a food when you get your paychecks. Hit up your food pantry first, and then hit up a dollar store, and then hit up a grocery store to save bread because things are getting expensive. That's my takeaway, food related.
I like that idea. A farmer's market.
Yeah, farmers markets as well.
Yeah,
As well.
yes.
But like, make sure like on a high give needs things, you're spending as little as money as possible, or like learn how to make certain kinds of things. Like,
Food
For sure.
pantries, that was
Yes.
big in
That
my
was good.
college.
100%.
I
Yeah.
like that one.
I think for me, what comes to mind is, every small action, like you said, like, the small steps that you take can lead to something bigger than yourself, ultimately, right? And this week, dropping my daughter off, I came across this banner. It's like a program called Pivot and Pivot Communities or something of that nature, and it broke down each word of the word pivot. It's like,
Like an acronym.
right, it's an acronym, right? Like, so it's like just knowing your purpose, right? The whys of why you're doing things, right? And then of course having a voice. It's like your voice is important. What you say is meaningful. Like, don't think what thoughts that come to mind and you profess it through your mouth. That is not important. It's very significant because ultimately your viewpoints can make someone see things in a different way, a different format that they were not even thinking about prior. And just being like optimistic, right? Being optimistic in how like we view things, having that faith at the forefront of everything. Because sometimes it's easy to get like feeling defeated and like I'm incapable, I can't do this. Like the voices in your head, like could have been your second grade teacher, could have been like, God forbid, even in your own home, your parents, like the community. I feel like initially starts there in the home and then just like disperses out. And then it's like just not giving up, is like that tenacity and just being persistent and persevering. And I just thought it was like quite interesting. And that big one, integrity, like holding on to those like principles that you have and knowing that, what you stand on, hold on to that. Don't like you said, in the echo chamber, don't like just listen to the circle of things going around and around because then it's like, you're not able to create your own thoughts and have, your own, whatever is in your mind thinking that is insignificant because this is like the thing going on over and over. So it's really like, I feel like standing on those like core values. And when I saw that banner, I'm like, that's a good one. That in itself, like bringing forth those things to the table, bringing that community and being around like-minded people like that could be like a good one. So, that's what I was thinking. Like, that's what the takeaway.
Okay. My takeaway, very simple. Step-by-step guide to how to bring thought to action. Step 1, think it. Step 2, see it, envision it. Step 3, plan/research. Step 4, just do it like Nike. That's it. Do it. Because that's it. Because if you already had the thought, from the thought, you can envision and see the vision in your head. From your thoughts and the vision, write, plan, research. From your research, begin with step 1.
I will also say that like just do it is step 0 and the last step as well because you can't become what you don't know. Like that, and like to be able to to be able to see something, you just have to be outside, just be open to experiences and stuff like that. Like I wouldn't have understood about like environmental underwriting in New York City if I didn't do like a random internship, if I didn't apply for getting a random summer internship somewhere else, and then all of a sudden understanding what like insurance does to New York City and why everything becomes so
Right.
expensive.
Sometimes
And then-
exposure is the
Yeah.
first step.
Yeah.
Mhm. It might not be an original thought, or you have an original thought based on the exposure, whatever situation you're exposed to, right? But, whatever you're planning to do, it's your thought to do. So after you think it and you envision it, plan it, research, start with the first step. And it's probably a phone call, or it's probably some type of talking to somebody. And what I always say that I do too, call on those who whatever that topic is or whatever it is, if you know anybody in the field.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? You think about the resources.
Right.
Who do I know? Who can I call?
Right.
Who can I just as a friend share my idea with, so I know they're gonna keep me motivated and they're gonna check
Keep
on
you accountable.
me and they're gonna,
Yeah.
give me the positive vibes and blessings and energy that I need to keep going. Like that's how I get things
I
started.
love your pointers, honestly, because I'm like, it's very simple. But
We
yeah,
make
it's still
things complicated. Yeah, I like to
I'm like,
uncomplicate
one,
things. That's
two,
what
three,
I
four.
personally
No,
like
yeah,
to do.
and you're good at
it
that,
drives
yeah.
me crazy to see people
Yes.
complicate things
Yes.
that don't need
Yes.
to be complicated.
Yes.
I help you try to uncomplicate it as quick as possible. Say,
Literally.
hold on. All right.
Yeah.
But understand you
What
might
are you
have
thinking?
a Kenisha or a Garai in your circle that like, okay, can I do it? So it takes them a while to get to the point where you're at, but yeah, if we could get there a bit more expeditiously, that would be like awesome. But yeah,
Have faith. Believe in yourself. That's what it takes.
Believe in yourself.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you guys
Yes.
so much for joining us on the Bridge by Thee podcast. Thank you, Garai, for coming.
Thank
It
you.
was so
We
wonderful.
appreciate you and your
Like
thoughts.
and subscribe.
Yes.
Comment your
Please.
share and share your thoughts down below in the comments.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye. Bridge by 3.